Good afternoon and welcome to Nutmeg Sports on the HN Network. Frank Granito in studio today alongside Kevin Coleman and John Kovacs as we are taking a look back on the opening weekend of FCIAC football here in Fairfield County. And right away from Friday night, boys, it lived up to the hype.
Oh, all that and then some. What an epic game between New Canaan and St. Joe's. St. Joe's gets out to the lead. New Canaan fights back, and St. Joe's just holds on for dear life and vaults past the vaunted Rams. When was the last time New Canaan was 0-1?
I think they might have lost up at the Surf Club against Daniel Hand sometime in the maybe early 2010s. But you're right. It's something that has to be thought about a lot.
Yeah.
You also think about now, when was the last time that New Canaan lost consecutive FCIAC football games?
Yeah, that's another thing to think about, because you did have that Darien game on Thanksgiving morning where
a very similar story.
Yeah,
fall behind,
exactly the same story.
You fall behind big early on. Everyone thinks it's over. You mount a little bit of a comeback, get it to where you even had the lead on Friday night. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Kevin, penalties, the reason the Rams could not come out on top.
I think we got close to around 20 penalties for the New Canaan Rams. And I'm glad you guys brought up the Turkey Bowl, because being on the sidelines, listening to some of the people down there, some of the assistant coaches, even some of the writers, a lot of people were saying, wow, this game really reminds me of the Turkey Bowl. New Canaan goes down 21 early. They start climbing their way back, especially in that second half. You start seeing glimpses of what we saw last Thanksgiving. Drew Pine mounting that great comeback. Him and Quinton O'Connell connected several times on some nice touchdown passes. But at the end of the day, I thought David Summers, and John, you and I talked about it not too long ago, we thought he looked pretty comfortable. I mean, he took some brutal hits from that New Canaan defense.
He looked comfortable leading the offense. He did not look comfortable at the end of the game because, like I said during the broadcast, he's going to have to wait for film to see some of those touchdowns, because for a lot of those touchdowns, he was picking himself up off the ground, and there's a lot of times that he was walking off the field and not jogging and really trying to get himself back in place as he left the field Friday night.
Well, I spoke with a couple of the New Canaan coaches later on in the night and into the next day, and they kept saying to me, they were watching him get hit and saying, okay, this is the time he doesn't get back up. This is the time that they've got to find a replacement now. Who's the next guy in? The young man played well beyond his years, and his courage, his toughness, his grit were unmatched this weekend, in my opinion, when you look around all of Connecticut football. It's a huge win for the Cadets. Let's take a look at the highlights now. It was a 38-35 victory, just the 20th time since Dunningfield opened that New Canaan has lost at home. Here's how the Cadets got it done. Morris checks the left, checks the right, he lines up, and we are underway. Trips left. It's a strong formation with a running back that way as well. They're going to go back shoulder fade to Bike. Did he hold on? Touchdown! So here we go, 4th and 12. They've got Bike isolated up top again. He's going to throw to the left side though. Malazzi wide open, diving. Did he make the catch? Touchdown! As Morris to punt, this one is going to be blocked. Diving through the wedge, it was Mike DeLorio, the captain. This one's blocked. It's landing in the end zone. It's going to be recovered. Touchdown, Cadets. Again, it strips at the top of the screen. Pine looking left. He wants O'Connell on the isolation. He made the catch. Touchdown. All you got to Pine looking to the right, comes back left. O'Connell slanting over the middle, makes the catch through a defender. Touchdown. Pine with plenty of time, floats one over. O'Connell looking for it. Alligator arms the catch, breaks 2 tackles, and it's a 1-possession game. Pine flushed from the pocket. He's trying to escape to the edge. Got around one man, cutting inside. He's into the end zone. Touchdown. Now gets the audible. Summers looking left, taking a shot down the middle. Trying to go to Malazzi, who adjusts, makes the catch. He's into the end zone. Touchdown. Clock will wind on the whistle. The Rams are going to have to snap it quickly. They get it off. Over the middle, here's Owen Shin with it. And now we'll see the laterals. Back across for Pine. Dancing around, it comes over to Wyatt Wilson. Wilson with it to Pine. Wrapped up. Pine brought down. The Cadets have knocked off the Rams. So there it is, St. Joe's, the 38-35 win. Really, the game was a tale of two halves. New Canaan looked just flat is an understatement. At one point in time in the second quarter, St. Joe's had blocked more punts than New Canaan had first downs. But you come out into the second half then, New Canaan goes 4 for 4, scoring touchdowns on their first 4 drives. St. Joe's can't get anything going. Let's start with the Rams. Which half was more of a testament to the team we're going to see this season?
I don't think it's two halves, Frank. I think it's 3 different sections of the game. I think you had St. Joe's dominate the first half, New Canaan dominate the third quarter, and then St. Joe's realized that they were still in a position that they could take it back. So it was kind of a half and 2 quarters is the way I kind of saw that game. And then late in the fourth, St. Joe's just is able to beat New Canaan back as they stride toward the finish line.
I won't disagree with that. I think you could even say it's a quarter and a half, because New Canaan dominated up until the 3rd and 1 play in the third quarter, where New Canaan gets flagged for having 12 men on the field. I think that New Canaan had that game won, actually. Then they come out in a goal line package. A receiver doesn't realize it, so they get flagged for 12 men on the field. It becomes 3rd and 6. Coach Marinelli gets a penalty. Now it's 3rd and 11. And that's where the game completely flipped back, Kevin. St. Joe's gets the ball back. They go down the field and score, and that's all she wrote.
It was pretty interesting just being on the sidelines. And actually, Coach Lou walked over to me and said, "We're not helping ourselves." And he threw his clipboard down. He was frustrated. That entire game, you could just tell he was frustrated. And it's unfortunate because they mounted that great comeback again. It looked like Drew Pine finally was able to get that confidence and seemed like he was going to lead the Rams to victory. And then St. Joe's, you got to give him a lot of credit because, for a team that we weren't sure what we were going to see Friday night, they really surprised us in a good way.
I know he's only a sophomore, John, but there is going to be a lot of criticism thrown at Drew Pine for the way he played. Just everything you've come to know about New Canaan football, it's a system. It's so well coached. It's so well structured. It's run like a college program. He was a wild card. I don't know how else to put it for the majority of that game. Did not go through progressions, was just looking to run, carrying the football like a loaf of bread, and ultimately one too many turnovers. You can set aside the 18 penalties they had. One too many careless turnovers that a kid of his stature and all the hype around him, he cannot be making mistakes like that.
What scares me the most if I'm New Canaan is the way he carried the football. He was very quick to scramble when the pocket collapsed, as opposed to stepping up, finding a receiver through his progression and hitting him. And he just was obsessed with carrying the ball like this out away from his body. And you're just asking to get stripped. I'm really, really stunned that he did not get stripped Friday night.
Kevin, on the other side, we talked a lot about Jared Malazzi. You're not going to be able to stop him. You can only hope to contain him, was the expression we used last week. He got his numbers in the first half. They kept him in check there through the third quarter, even the start of the fourth quarter. But down the stretch, he comes up and makes a couple big catches that really just put that game on ice.
And again, that just comes to show what a great football player he is. Also, how about Phil Pesmeg? We talked about him during the, not only during the week, but during FCIAC tailgate. He was a guy that we all floated around as a possible X factor, and I thought he came up big. Some of those, third down conversions. He was kind of that safety net for David Summers at times, I thought. But yes, Jared Malazzi, some incredible catches, and a couple nice touchdowns, and that diving catch he had in that first half was really impressive. And I know our very own Dave Stewart got a great shot of that on his camera, being down the sidelines. That was a cool shot.
It's actually the picture on the HN Network for today's episode of Nutmeg. John, just one more point I want to touch to on this game before we move to break here. The most impressive part for me of the day was the St. Joe's defense. And in that first half, it was not even the fact that they just were so dominant. It was the way they were dominant and how they went about it. It looked like a legitimate Division I defense or NFL defense where they were blitzing from everywhere, like we talked about, but they're blitzing from that position. You had nickel slot corners and outside linebackers that were blitzing from 6, 7 yards away, 3, 4, 5 yards outside the tackle box, and they were still getting to Pine, which was very impressive and speaks to the speed that defense is going to play with this year.
They played with a ton of speed, and as I said, when I saw them earlier in the year in their jamboree, they blitzed from everywhere at any time, double barrel up the middle, inside and outside, twists, everything. The other thing that impressed me there, A lot of times when you blitz, and Tom Brady's made a living off of this in the NFL, you make the hot call off of the blitz, you throw over the blitz, and somebody's open beyond that oncoming defender. I didn't see that anywhere. I didn't see a hole. So they had the coverage in the blitz so well choreographed that Pine had nothing to do. Maybe that's why he ended up scrambling as much as he did, as his progression was gone.
It was really just a very, very impressive win from St. Joe's. We talked about it on Saturday afternoon. You would probably put them in that number 2 spot now if you had to re-rank the conference. I don't think New Canaan falls down that far, and I expect the Rams to bounce back sooner rather than later, too. They get the Danbury Hatters this week. They're on the road there, but New Canaan should be able to take care of Danbury. St. Joe's, they are going to get a Fairfield Ward team that won 28-27 over Stanford. The Mustangs probably could send a letter of thanks to the Rams because they are going to get a beat-up St. Joe's team, to say the least, who truly went through a war of attrition to get that win. But nevertheless, St. Joe's 1-0, and the Rams, for the first time in a while, 0-1. We're going to step aside. When we get back, we look ahead to our coverage of Saturday's game between Trumbull and Greenwich, which not as tightly contested as it was on Friday night. It's coming up next on Nutmeg Sports.
Now teeing off, Paul Miller from Miller Nissan in Fairfield.
Excuse me, Mr. Miller. What about my new Sentra?
Right now, lease a 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
He is never going to retire.
UK Gourmet is the largest specialty grocer in the area, featuring food from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Over 80 teas to choose from and a brilliant assortment of biscuits to go with them. Over 70 cheeses from grass-fed cows, which makes a smashing difference in taste. The creamiest chocolate you'll ever taste using no artificial colors or preservatives. So say hooray for UK Gourmet, 78 Stony Hill Road in Bethel, or visit ukgourmet.us.
At InSports Trumbull, the game is always on inside. Registration is now open for our fitness training programs for high school athletes. The InSports Performance Center is offering blast speed classes, athletic functional movement assessments, and both men's and women's elite speed and strength training. Our premier programs help bring athletes to the next level. Call 203-268-1214 for more information. Like and follow us on Facebook.
Manfredi New Canaan is celebrating 3 exceptional years selling Rolex watches and fine jewelry to the Fairfield County community. We appreciate all our loyal clients and look forward to welcoming and helping you discover the perfect gift to celebrate life's most important occasions. Bankwell combines the best personalized service with high-tech banking features for our customers' convenience. We pride ourselves on being a strong community partner. You don't settle for average in anything else you do. Why settle for an average bank? Don't just bank when you can bank well instead. Visit mybankwell.com for more. Bankwell.
Back on Nutmeg Sports, Frank Granito with John Kovac and Kevin Coleman looking back on the opening weekend of football in Fairfield County. Talked about St. Joe's upset over New Canaan on Friday night. Now we look to Saturday. A very highly anticipated matchup when you looked at Trumbull and Greenwich, teams that both finished 7-3 last year. Greenwich's win over Trumbull got them into the playoffs, and it was a very back and forth and tight game a year ago, but that not the case on Saturday, John. It got ugly, and it got ugly fast.
I thought Greenwich was good. I knew Greenwich was good going in. They were exceptional on Saturday. Everything they did well. What struck me about that is how they came at you so many different ways. They threw the screens and the swings. They threw to the big tight end. They ran the ball. Just everything they did, they succeeded on. There's stuff that's lost in the translation because they looked so good moving the ball. With the ball carrier, you forget how much the line dominated the game. Just went out and just dominated every aspect of the game against Trumbull.
And you mentioned how they beat you in a variety of ways. You talked about the screens and the swings. What was most impressive, or what I noticed, Kevin, that really stood out was the speed of Greenwich. I think we knew that the tempo and the talent would be there. They're now comfortable with the offense, but we saw a lot of new names to this offense and this roster step up, and They were guys that had legit breakaway speed across the board.
And one of those guys was Tyson Camizio, and I got a great chance to be able to talk to him at the end of the game on Saturday. And something that Johnny Marinelli, head coach of the Greenwich Cardinals, told me at halftime was Tyson's name wasn't in the papers, wasn't in anything leading up to this upcoming season, and he told Tyson to use that as motivation, and clearly he did, because he put on a phenomenal performance on Saturday. Well deserving, and he even told me that he used that as motivation going into Saturday's game against Trumbull. And I thought he did well with not only his speed, but he's got his size. He can get past defenders. And how about this? No Jeremiah Harris either. He was not in the lineup for Greenwich on Saturday. So imagine when he comes back, how much more deadly they're going to be.
I mean, it's only going to make that defense better as well. Also, a big name that wasn't playing in this game, Kevin, Marquise Woods, running back for Trumbull. I think he's going to be a huge part of the offense this year. But Colton Nicholas getting his first start and not having Marquise Woods to rely on. And Osborne did a very good job, but I just think there was a lot more added pressure or unnecessary pressure than put onto Nicholas, who was forced to spend a lot of the day in an empty set trying to overcompensate offensively.
Not having your top run threat in your first start is certainly not where you want to be. And just, another thing lost in this on Saturday, as we looked at, is just how good the Greenwich defense was at shutting down everything Trumbull tried to do. One mistake by Gavin Muir, who showed tremendous poise for a guy, and that's why you give him all the reps that he got last year.
For 46 minutes, Gavin Muir was arguably the best player on the field. It was just the first two before he found his feet.
He made one mistake. Trumbull made him pay for it, and that was the last time, really, that Trumbull did anything.
It was 10-7 at the end of the first quarter, but it was broken open after that, a 55-0 run by the Cardinals. Let's take a look at the highlights, and we'll have more on that game after this. Jumbo said here as it's Nicholas on the QB keeper, powers his way through the line, and it's got enough, and it is 6-0 Eagles. Extra running back checks into the game for the Cardinals. That's Jack Warren. Joins Camizio and Muir in the backfield, and his first carry is in between the tackles and into the end zone. Touchdown, Cardinals.
That's true.
Kick from Cranston is up, and it is good. Going back to Camizio. No, quick screen to the right side. Negron makes the catch, reaching for the goal line, and he is in. Touchdown, Greenwich.
Always is.
They fake the jail screen left, come back to a slip screen on the right, and now Camizio showing off the speed. Foot race down the sideline, and he will score. Dropping back, taking a shot, wants to go up, and making the catch for a touchdown was Giannopoulos. Year 3 of the Marinelli era in Greenwich starts off with a big, big win. 70-16 is your final. Special teams played a huge role in that game. I want to get into that in a moment. But first, question for both of you. Is Greenwich as good as we saw on Saturday? And do you think Trumbull is as bad as they played at the end of that game?
You want me to go first?
I'll let you go first.
I think Greenwich is very good. I would be a little concerned if I was the defensive coordinator watching that video trying to come up with how to stop them, because they did so many different things and all of them so many weapons. You had, Elias Giannopoulos high point the ball in that last touchdown we saw. You had Henry Salibi. They lined him up at tight end. He just ran seam routes and was wide open. They put him out as an X and ran the bubble, and he just blocked the corner and just had the kid on roller skates and opened up those screens. You did so many things right. If you stop one of them, you're at risk of opening something else up. So I think are they going to score 70 points every week? No, but I think they're going to be very tough to stop because of their versatility. Trumbull, I think, they've got work to do. They got dominated up front. They don't have a lot of size on the line. We'll see how Woods' return affects them. They've got Fairfield Ludlow on Friday night, so I would expect that they're going to try to pile on as many points as they can to try to erase the memory of this and send a message that they're not the team that lost 70-16, just as I think Greenwich was sending a message to the FCIAC we can score 70 points, and we are better than you think we are.
I agree with John. I think for Greenwich, this is a team that went out, wanted to prove something to the FCIAC. I think they're only going to get better from here. I think they learn from this game and they move on. They get Jeremiah Harris back in a week. I think that makes them an even better team. And listen, I think Gavin Muir looks so comfortable in that pocket right now. He's got a good line protecting him. So I think Greenwich is one of those teams that really could finish in that top 3 this year, along with St. Joe's, New Canaan, and Darien. For Trumbull, I think they do have work to do. I still think that you're going to see some improvements. I want to see more out of Colton Nicholas. I think he has a lot of talent. You just didn't see it there on Saturday afternoon because, listen, that Greenwich defense came after him quick. So I still think Trumbull's going to bounce back. I think they benefit by playing Ludlow on Friday night. I think Trumbull's going to bounce back, but I think we're only going to see Greenwich get better from here.
Trumbull needs to tighten up on special teams.
Oh, yeah.
You had the issues, John, that started out with not having enough on punt units, on extra point units, and then there was the start of the third quarter where they lost 2 pooch kicks. One was muffed, one wasn't fielded. There was the onside kick that they couldn't recover. So there are a lot of special team issues that need to be tightened up. They get Ludlow this week, but then they are on the road at New Canaan the week after that. And for both those teams, you could be staring down an elimination game already here in Week 3.
You really could. Neither team's going to be able to afford to lose that Week 3 matchup between Trumbull and New Canaan. The special teams, I had a bad feeling on that first extra point. I mean, your first extra point, and you're burning a timeout because you've got 10 on the field. And that just burns a coach, I'll tell you that. And then on those pooch kicks, and Trumbull lines up, they leave a huge gap from the front line to the second line on the kickoffs. Greenwich, which is incredible at finding ways to get creative with the kickoff and set up a situation where they can get the ball back, be it a regular onside kick, be it coming in from different angles. The number 1 kicks it, the kicker kicks it. They do that pooch kick, and the first time Trumbull did the right thing and tried to fair catch it, but they didn't field it clean. Then the next one doesn't get covered, and that's essentially 2 onside kicks, and it just became this avalanche.
You know what else I saw? Because being down, I was on that Trumbull sideline a lot, John. I saw a lot of confusion with who was in, who wasn't in. Now, a lot of people running out. That's why they
can't have that.
They got flagged many times for having too many men on the field or having 10. It was more than 5 times, I believe, I saw that happen to Trumbull Eagles on Saturday afternoon.
Which has
got to be very frustrating for a coach.
We will see the Greenwich Cardinals again next weekend. They travel to Trinity Catholic Scaglio Field. That game Saturday at 1:30. We'll have it in its entirety for you. And, of course, that was a game that had a little bit of extra tension to it last year. We're going to take another break. When we get back, though, we look at the rest of the FCIAC slate. Some surprising performances from players and teams around the conference. That's next on Nutmeg Sports.
Want a new experience in car buying? No aggravation, no confrontation, just answers to all your questions. Scap Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Car buying the way you want it to be. With one of the largest selections of new 2- and 4-door Jeep Wranglers available, we are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Located in Fairfield, Connecticut, we're easy to get to. Just 2.5 miles off the Merritt Parkway, exit 44 via Route 58 South. Save thousands right now during the Jeep Celebration event and Ram Power Days. Now through September 30th.
We know it's your busy season, and that's why Walter Stewart's Market is here to make things easy by offering the best of autumn under one roof. Walter Stewart's Market is your local one-stop fall shop. There are so many seasonal flavors to savor, and Stewart's has them all. From Blue Jay Orchard's local cider donuts to Vermont Farmstead cheddar and all of your favorite varieties of local apples and pears. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, and find us at stewartsmarket.com.
At the Kitchen Center of Connecticut, our showroom offers quality cabinetry and countertops, free consultation with our expert design staff, and affordable pricing. For all other home improvement needs, visit Northeast Building Supply, our full-service lumberyard and window showroom. The Kitchen Center, a division of Northeast Building Supply, Barnum Avenue, Bridgeport.
At Black Horse Garage, we fulfill all your sports car needs. We specialize in manufacturer-recommended service and aftermarket high-performance parts and installation. We have one of the nation's top storage facilities and offer a high-end collision department that understands your need for detail. Visit blackhorsegarage.com for more.
Back on Nutmeg Sports as we continue our wrap-up of the first weekend of FCIAC football, as we look now to some of the other games that took place around the conference, and you get a look at the scoreboard there. Let's start with that FCIAC crossover game, John, because we are going to be at Norwalk's Chesterfield on Friday night. The Bears throwing up 68 points on the Hampton Green Dragons.
That's all right, because the next day, the West Hill Vikings, who we're going to see at Chesterfield Friday night, threw up 50. So there's a combined 118 points thrown up by the two teams we'll bring you Friday night. I don't think you're going to see that kind of scoring. What I wonder about, and I haven't seen really anything in terms of a summary of the game, that was 52-26 with 4 minutes to go in the half up at Hamden that Norwalk led. So they gave up some points there, more than West Hill did, but West Hill, and we'll get to that in a little bit, left a lot of points on the field.
I think that game Friday night between Norwalk and West Hill, I agree it's not as high scoring, but there is the possibility of an explosive play almost every snap. They've got game breakers across the board on both sides there, and that's going to be a very exciting one. Big win for Ward, 28-27 over the Black Knights. A lot of us thought that Stanford had the edge in that one.
I'm impressed by that. And Ward with the comeback there. They were down 2 scores in the third quarter. They come back and win it by 1. Touchdown by Jeff Saganos. 2-point conversion by Matt Simonaro. He had another touchdown by Jack Curtis. But the defense with a bunch of sacks, and they ended the game with a sack on 4th down. So that's good. Whenever you can sack to end the game, your contains working, your coverage is working. I think that's a big win for them to start 1-0.
Wilton rolls offensively, Kevin. It was the Harvey Alexander show. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. Too much for the McMahon defense to handle.
I think Harvey Alexander, again, is going to have another awesome year. You look at his junior season last year for the Wilton Warriors, outstanding. I think he just is going to bring his game to another level this year. You saw it again in a great win against McMahon.
Trinity Catholic, who we'll see Saturday, they outlast Danbury. We talked about this, John. Just Trinity Catholic is built for week 1. It's such a small program. That's really the only opportunity they have where they are all healthy and you're not going to be beaten up and struggling. The kids deserve all the credit in the world because you've got 35, 36 guys on this roster having to play 33 different positions, and they get it all done. So that's a big win for them. Danbury road does not get easier this next week, hosting New Canaan. Staples rolls over Central. I think we expected this out of Staples. It gets the season off on the right foot after a couple of down years for a program that's known for its success.
They needed the big shutout. They needed the big game that they got on the ground. They needed to start 1-0, and it helps them reestablish where they were. You had Harrison Levi, 92 yards, 4 touchdowns on 12 carries. Great night there. Daniel Thompson, the quarterback, 5 for 8 for 70 yards and a touchdown. He carried the ball 7 times for 86 yards and a touchdown. Just doing a lot there with Staples. Saw them against Fairfield Prep. They hung with Prep, who won to open the season in the SCC this week. Staples win their share of games this year. Do they get it above 500? I think they're going to have to win one that people might not expect them to get there.
That's fair. And the last big game of the weekend, Darien holding on against Richfield. Just another dominant performance by the Blue Wave. Win streak continues on, and we were talking off the air, Lou Marinelli might be the godfather of FCIAC football, but Rob Trifone is the king in charge right now, and he does as well a job and better at making sure he reloads, retools, and they take care of business in the games they are supposed to win.
John, I'm just going to say that I think they sent a message to the entire conference. I think a lot of people like us, we all talked about how Richfield could possibly, yes, but there were others. But I think a lot of people put Richfield as maybe pulling the upset. They're going to be at home. This is a Darien team that lost a huge senior class. They had a new quarterback in Jack Joyce, who's really making that first varsity start as a first quarterback for Darien Blue Wave. I thought he looked so comfortable in the pocket. How about Brian Minikis? 2 pick sixes, and listening to what Rob Trifone had to say at the end of the game, would talk about Minikis. He missed pretty much the entire week of practice due to an injury. So he was watching film all week, told him to watch the quarterback's eyes, and that's what he did twice, and he ended up in the end zone.
Brian Minikis had as many touchdowns when Ridgefield had the ball as Ridgefield did.
It's true.
Listen, they are the cream of the crop. They know how to get it done, and they are the standard that everyone is chasing. It was a great week 1. We cannot wait for the next 9 as the FCIAC football season continues to roll on. But before that, we kick off the rest of our fall sports coverage. We've got girls soccer tomorrow night, 7 o'clock from Fairfield Ludlow, they host the Brian McMahon Senators. Kevin and I will be on the call for you. We'll get you ready for that game and catch you up on what happened in the opening weekend of the other FCIAC sports on Nutmeg Sports at 2 o'clock. Before that, catch up with Kate Zaplensky, get your coffee break at 11 a.m. For John Kovacs, Kevin Coleman, I'm Frank Granito. See you back here tomorrow.